give this a shot. See what we can come up with. Let's at least get it started. Yep, you're doing great. You're doing fantastic. All right. So let's start working through this. Like I said, you can solve this any way you like to. Elimination is definitely the hardest on this because it's not set up with our x and y on the same side of the equal sign. We could do this with substitution. I know at least a couple people have spotted that. I've got a y equals here. I could absolutely take this and substitute in this chunk in place of the y. Hey, 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 thank you. I take that. Want some sauce? I could absolutely substitute this in place of this y up here. Totally valid. Going in that spot. I could also graph both these lines. That is also a valid solution. I'm going to go ahead and go with our substitution here. So we would be taking our 2x minus y, but instead of y, we're going to substitute in that value there. And it's going to equal our minus 3. So this thing we're substituting in place of our y is our minus 1/2 x plus 3. What should we do next? We need to distribute. We need to distribute the minus sign. You can think of it as being a -1, or you can just think of it as the minus sign to this piece and to this piece. So we're going to have our 2x, and then instead of having minus 1/2, we're actually going to wind up with a plus 1/2 x, and then we'll have our minus 3 equals minus 3. What could we do next? Combine like terms. What are we going to get from those like terms? 5/2 is exactly how I recommend putting it. Our 2x plus 1/2 x, like in our heads we'll go, oh, that's 2.5 x. But 2.5 as a mixed number is really, really difficult to work with as an equation. I could put 2.5, totally valid. We could 100% rock with decimals. Or if you do it in the calculator, you'll see, if I switch the page over to the calculator, if I put it in as fractions, 2 plus 1/2, I get 5/2 from the calculator. If I hit the little 2 arrows, it'll switch it to a decimal. So you can do it either way. I can either do it as a decimal or I can do it as a fraction. But as one of those two would be the easy way to do it. So I tend to go more fraction style. 5/2 x minus 3 equals minus 3. But you can absolutely use 2.5 if you look at fractions and go, ew, gross. Option number 2 is to say, oh, wait a second. I could just multiply everybody by that denominator. So this guy by 2, this guy by 2, this guy by 2, this guy by 2 to get rid of the fraction. As long as I hit everybody, that works too. So you can either multiply to get rid of your denominator, or we can rock with fractions. We can totally rock with fractions. What do we do next to try and get to our solution here? Add 3. Absolutely right. We're going to add 3. I'm going to make my page bigger and then change it so you're not having to watch from super far away. So if I add 3 to both sides, we are going to have our disgusting fraction 5/2 x equals what? 0. If I owe you $3 and then I pay you $3, we are even. I don't owe you money. You don't owe me money. Nothing. We're good. So if I owe you $3 and I pay you $3, we're clear. What can I do to figure out what x is going to be? Multiply by 2. I want to get rid of that denominator. So let's get rid of that 2. So this 2 and this 2 cancel out. And we're going to have our 5x equals 0 times 2 is 0. Then what? Divide by 5. Absolutely right. Divide by 5. What is 0 divided by 5? 0. That is an absolutely valid number. We can have 0 things. I can owe you no money. In fact, I often owe you no money. That's not my whole answer. It's half my answer, but it's not my whole answer because I still need to know what y is. That's when this y equals equation comes in real handy. Because I can take my y equals -1/2 x plus 3. And I can substitute in the fact that we know, hey, that x is going to be 0. So we're going to find that our y equals, what is -1/2 times 0? 0. Oh, thank goodness we don't have to deal with the fraction anymore. Huzzah. 0 plus 3. So what does our y equal? 3. So our answer is the point 0, 3. This is our answer. And you can get that using our substitution like we did. I could graph up both of these lines, and they're going to cross at 0, 3. I could try and get this set up for elimination, but it is really not going to be pleasant. It's doable, but it's the hardest possible way on this one. Okay, questions on this one? All right. So I got caught up with all of the homeworks that have been turned in last night, and I wanted to go through a little bit more of our elimination stuff because we did all right with our substitution. We kind of were struggling on our elimination problems. So we're going to talk through a few more of them. So we're going to kind of bounce around in the notes packet today, just kind of catching up some of the pieces that we accidentally missed. So we are going to start on page 14 at the bottom of the page. This one is number 2 at the very, very, very bottom. We're not doing number 1 because it was actually your bell work yesterday. So page 14 at the very, very bottom, number 2. We're going to practice our elimination a couple of times today, and we're going to practice one of the story problems, just because we didn't get a chance to do some of them. So when we're looking at our elimination, we want to have at least one letter that has the same number with the opposite sign in both of our equations. So here we've got 4x plus 6y equals 32, and we've got 3x minus 6y equals 3. Well, on my x's, I've got 4 and 3. Oop. Fixing that. There we go. We've got the 4 and 3. Those are not the same. But on my 6y and minus 6y, I have the same number. They're both 6's. One's positive, one's negative. So this one is set right up for us to do elimination. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come through and we're going to add these together. Old school column style. That is a wonky line. Let me fix that. Better-ish. So then we're going to add these together in our columns. So I'm going to add together my 4x and my 3x. What is 4x plus 3x? 7x. What is our next column? 6y plus negative 6y. 0 y's. So we have none y's. That's, again, and I owe you $6. I pay you $6. They go away. And then we have our 32 plus 3, which is 35. The whole point of this is that one of these letters cancels out. If one of them does not cancel out, something went wrong and we need to stop. Do not keep plowing through. So once one of those letters cancels out, I don't need to have it written there anymore. So I'm just looking at when does my 7x equal 35. So what can I do to figure out what my x is going to be? How could I solve that? Divide by 7. Exactly right. Divide by 7. What is 35 divided by 7? 5. So now I know my x. My x equals 5. Sweet. We have half our answer already. We do need to find our y's. So we're going to pick one of our equations to substitute the x that we know in. I'm going to pick the top equation simply because it's on the top and therefore gives me more room to write on my screen. Genuinely, it's the reason I'm choosing it. You can use either one of the equations. If you have a strong calling to use the second equation, use it. You'll get the exact same number as me. So we're going to take our 4x, but now we know our x is going to be a value, plus our 6y equals 32. But we know our x is going to be that 5. We just found that out. So we want to find out the y when x is 5. And we can simplify this. 4 times 5, that's going to give me 20, plus my 6y equals 32. What can I do from here? Subtract 20. Beautiful. Absolutely correct. Minus 20. That's going to give us that our 6y equals 32 minus 20 is 12. How do I get y by itself? Divide by 6. So what does my y equal? 2. So our answer, our final solution, is the point 5, 2. This is our solution. You've got to write it as a point, and you've got to have both x and y. You can't just have x, you can't just have y. You got to have them both. I had a lot of people get to about here on that homework and kind of give up. We got here. Especially if we didn't have somebody cancel out, we ran into a problem and got stuck. So questions on this first one. This one is kind of the easy one, the setup. Because we're going to do another one. We're actually going to go up on the page. We're going to do the one in the middle of the page. The example number 6. So it's in the middle of that same page, page 14, right in the middle. And we're again going to use our elimination to solve this system. We've got our 18x plus 21y equals 14, and 6x plus 7y equals 2. Again, we want to have the same number with the opposite sign for at least one of our letters. I've got an 18x and a 6x. Those don't match. And I've got a 21y and a 7y. Dang it, neither one of them are already done for us. So we have to pick a letter that we would like to eliminate out. Which letter do you want to look at? X's or Y's? X. Let's go for X. I'm going to put down, we're looking at the X's here. I would like them to have the same number, but with opposite signs. So if I have 18x and 6x, I'm going to look at the smaller one, which would be 6. Is there a number I can multiply 6x by to make it be 18? 3. So if I wanted them to have the exact same number, I could just multiply this by 3. But I don't want them to have exactly the same number. I want them to have the opposite sign. So I'm going to multiply instead by -3. Bless you. And I know it's super close against that wall right there, but we're going to multiply by -3. So I'm going to bring this over here, and I'm going to write them bigger. So when I'm multiplying by -3, I'm going to take my -3 times my 6x to get -18x. I'm going to take my -3 times my 7y to get -21y. And I need to take my -3 all the way over to this 2 to get it equals -6. The whole equation the whole way across. The top equation already has an 18x, so I'm just going to rewrite this over here. Not changing a dang on thing. It gets them lined up, and it puts them in the middle of the screen instead of against the wall. Okay, questions on that part, because that part's a little bit weird and it's throwing people off.
Just really curious. Could you divide the top by 3, -3? Would that do
You
the same
could, but you're going to wind up with a fraction.
Alright.
Because 14 does not divide by 3 nicely. But yeah, you could. That would be the same as multiplying by 1/3, essentially. So you can multiply by anything you want. It just, fractions are a dangerous game. So we're going to go ahead and add these two together. Because again, you could also set this up to do subtraction, but it just plays games with signs. And so doing it with addition is easier to not lose track of that. So we're going to add these together just like we did on the last one. We've got our 18x plus -18x. What do we get when we add these together? 0 x's. Boom shakalaka. That's what we wanted. That's what we were aiming for. What do we get when we add our y's together? Oh, 0 y's. That was not intentional. Not mad at it, but we can have it. And then how about our 14 plus -6? 8. So what are we left with on this left-hand side? I've got 0 x's and 0 y's. So this guy cancels out, and this guy cancels out. What's left over there? Nothing. What's a math word for nothing? 0. So what we have over here is that 0 equals 8. Does 0 equal 8? No. If you say yes, you're my new bank, and I'll take your $0, please. I always hope for some applause for that. Those are not the same. That is a lie. You lie. So where's our answer going to be? This is false. I don't even have any x's or y's left over. And I got something that is inherently false. What does that mean is going to happen? No solution. So we have here no solution. If all of our letters cancel out, and we're left with something that is flat out a lie. Lie. That is no solution. If we get something that is true, that's when we have our infinitely many solutions. Something like 0 equals 0. Something like 2 equals 2. Totally cool. If we get something 0 equals 8, no, that's not real. That's not a thing. So it can't happen ever. Doesn't matter what x is, doesn't matter what y is. This doesn't happen. So we can get our no solutions on these. It's totally a thing that can happen. Okay? We didn't get a chance to see one of those 2 days ago. Questions on that one? Because we don't have to go farther. Stop right there. Once we get something that's inherently false and I have no letters left, there's nothing else we can do. We done. Okay. The next thing I want to talk us through is on the next page, and everybody's most favoritist. We didn't get a chance to work one like this. page 15. This is the very, very top one. We did a story problem. We did the one where we had Angie and Jasmine who were, I don't even remember what they were doing. Paying off their debt. And we were looking at Angie and her equation and Jasmine and her equation. So we had two people doing two separate things, so they each got their own equation. Here on this one, we have Amy and Corey that are planning a party, but they're working together. They have 75 people coming to the party. They are going to order some pizza, and the pizzas that they're ordering can serve 5 people and cost $10. Or they could get pasta that feeds 12 people, but it costs $26. They want to use their whole budget of $160, but they need to figure out how much of what to feed everybody. So we need to figure out not only what equations to use, we need to figure out what variables we're using. I don't know what letters we're going to use in here. Shoot, at this point, I don't even know what we're looking for. What are the things that we don't know in this problem? How many pizzas and how many pastas? When in doubt, the question is a really good place to look for that. That's where we're going to figure out what our letters are going to be. So I need to know the number of pizzas and I need to know the number of pasta. So we get to pick a letter for each of them. We don't want to use P because they both start with P. So what letter do we want to use for pizza? You need to pick one. Say it again. X? X is absolutely valid. Traditional. Classic. You could use A. You could use X. You could use P for pizza if you want to. You just have to pick a different letter for pasta. You could use a happy face and a heart for all I care. It's a variable. It's a placeholder. But then we have to do a very similar thing for our number of pastas. Because we're not ordering the same amount. So we need a different letter. Why? Absolutely valid. I do think you should write them down. Because it's really easy to forget which one you had in your brain and flip-flop them halfway through. Write them down. You can even just say, okay, pizzas are the X, pasta is the Y. That counts as writing it down, and you won't lose track. Totally valid. How could we try and write an equation in here somewhere? The last time we did a story problem, we had, Angie and Jasmine, and Angie had one thought, and Jasmine had one thought. Separate people, separate plants. Here they're working together, so I don't really have like an equation for Amy and an equation for Corey. So if I don't have two different people with two different plans, look for groups of 3. What do I have 3 of in this story? I'll get rid of these circles so we can see. Say it again. The people. I have 3 different things talking to me about the number of people. I know that we're going to have 75 people coming to the party. I know that a pizza can feed 5 people. And I know that a pasta pan can feed 12 people. So each pizza feeds 5 people. Each pasta feeds 12 people. And we want to feed 75 people. How could I write that as an equation? If each pizza feeds 5 people, how can I write that? 5x. And if each pasta feeds 12 people, how can I write that? Careful, 12y. And I want the number of people that can eat pizza and the number of people that eat pasta to combine to make 75, right? So we want to combine them to make 75 people. Remember, ask spot of the people first. Usually that's not the one I spot first. What else do we have 3 of in this story? Cost. Money, 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 money. Money. So I've got $10 for pizza, $26 for pasta, and our total budget of 160. I have another group of 3 things. That gives me what I need for an equation. It takes 3 pieces of information to write an equation like this. So I know each pizza costs $10. So very similar structure. We're going to do $10 for every pizza. We called our pizzas X. And we know it's going to cost $26 for every pasta, and we called our pastas Y. If we combine those 2 costs, I would like to spend as close to my budget as possible. We want to spend our $160. Because honestly, if I had the budget, I'd probably be getting pasta because it's better pasta. But I don't have the budget to get everybody pasta. So we're going to get some pizzas, but a lot of pasta. But we need to make sure we got enough food for everybody. So we've got to figure out what we're being asked for. That gets our variables. And then we've got to write our equations. I'm going to stack both of our equations in the way that we're used to seeing for our systems so that we can figure out what our plan's going to be. We've got our 5x plus 12y equals 75. And our 10x plus 26y equals 160. And we're going to try and solve this daggone thing. What will we need to multiply by? I would like for one of my letters to have the same number with the opposite sign. And we could spot right away. 5 and 10, oh, those are very closely related. 12 and 26, I could probably do, but not super easy off the top of my head. But I know that 5 times 2 will give me 10. But remember, we want to also have it with the opposite sign. So we're going to multiply this whole thing, everybody, by -2. Absolutely everything in there. So I'm going to rewrite this over here towards the middle. If I take this -2 times my 5x and towards my 12y and to the 75. So this is going to be -10x. And our -24y equals -150. Our bottom equation, we don't have to change at all. That's our 10x, our 26y, and our 160. So I just rewrote that one again. Then let's add these together. What do I get when I add my x's together? -10x plus 10x. 0 x's. Woohoo, it's what we wanted. One of them should at least get down to 0. What about our -24y plus 26y? 2y. Exactly right. And that's going to equal -150 plus 160. 10. The whole point of this is for somebody to cancel out. One of these should go away. Or we made a mistake. If one of your letters does not cancel out, change tactics or send me a question with a picture of what you've done. So the whole point is to get that to cancel out, so I don't need to have it there anymore. I know that my 2y actually equals 10. So how can I figure out what y is? Divide by 2. Divide by 2. So my y equals 10 divided by 2 gives us a 5. Sweet. I know my y. Now we need to find our x. And I have several choices of equations to work with. I could use this purple guy, I could use the blue guy, I could use the exact same blue guy over here, or I could use this one in here with the 5x. Any of them. Totally cool. Whichever one is calling to you. It genuinely does not matter. I'm going to go ahead and use this one simply because it's got smaller numbers and it tends to intimidate us less. So I'm going to take my 5x plus 12y, but I know what my y is. I know my y is going to be 5, so I can substitute that in. And we know when we want to know when that's going to equal, bless you, 75. So I'm taking one of my equations and plugging in my y. Now we can simplify this. What is 12 times 5? 60. 5x plus 60 equals 75. What can I do next? Beautiful choice. Subtract the 60. We've got our 5x equals 15. 75 minus 60 gives us 15. Last step. We need to divide by 5. That way these guys cancel out. And we're left with just our x equals 15 divided by 5 gives us 3. So we know we've got a 3 and we've got a 5. So how many pizzas do I need to order? 3. Because we said that x was the number of pizzas. So I need to order 3 pizzas. How many pastas do I need to order? 5. So I need 3 pizzas and 5 pastas. Somebody's FaceTiming from their pocket. I heard the FaceTime ringtone. Okay. So with the story problems, the setup is probably what's going to take the longest. Once we get our equations written, we can plow through that. It's the writing of the equations that we need to slow down and take our time with, okay? Questions on that one? Okay. Since we kind of slowed ourselves down here for a second and came back and kind of retouched on this because we were struggling a little bit with our elimination, we're actually going to take our chapter test and we are going to push it back a day. It's going to be on Thursday of next week, not on Wednesday. So what we're going to do on the for homework 6, the back side of it, we'll do that Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday we'll review, Thursday's the test. Okay, so that's kind of the plan. So that homework 6, if you since you got it yesterday, it's not going to be due until Tuesday because we're going to talk about the stuff on the back. It's really gross things. They're like really gross. We're going to do that Monday and Tuesday. I'll adjust. I'm going to pass back absolutely everything I have. If I do not pass you back something that you know you turned in, check my no-name wall. I've got 4 things up there still that got turned in for algebra with no name on them. Okay, so I'm going to give everything back to you that I have for you. And you guys have the rest of this time to actually work on stuff, try things out. Don't forget to turn in your bell work, turn in any homeworks that you have that are done. If you need a little bit more time to look at homework 5, simply because we just kind of went through our elimination again, or if you already turned it in and you'd like to try it again, that's totally valid. I'm cool with that because we were kind of struggling with it. All right, so make sure you do that. Get those all in. Make sure you're getting those Canvas assignments done as well. They do close after a week, so don't be expecting to go in there and the end of the semester and catch all of them up. They close after a week. So make sure you're doing it. Also, just to prepare yourself, you've been around me long enough to know next week is a theme week. Yeah, I heard it. Just so we're not thrown off, there will be costumes. There may or may not be fabric diapers. Might have a small competition about it. You might be a prize. Yeah, I throw down. Come on, we Christmas every day. All right, that is everything I have for you. If you've turned something in and you haven't gotten it back from me, check the wall. That's all I got. So you guys have 6 minutes. So work on stuff. If you got questions, now is a great time for them. If you're close to finishing up a homework and you're a little bit stuck, now is a great time to do that. Work on stuff. Let me know how I can help.